The extremist Sunni militants sweeping across Iraq may have a singular goal, but there's a broad coalition of recruits from outside of the Middle East willing to help them achieve it. The so-called Islamic State in Iraq and Syria, or ISIS, wants to establish an Islamic State stretching from northern Syria into Iraq. And as the brutal terror group racks up victory after victory on the battlefield, more foreign fighters are considering joining their ranks. Who are they? 3 young men we spoke to have traveled to Syria to answer the call to jihad. They agreed to speak to us from the northwestern city of Idlib over Skype, provided we masked their identities and didn't use their real names. Abu Anwar, as he asked to be called, is 25 years old and from Britain. I'm from the south of England. I grew up in a middle-class family, he told us. Life was easy back home. I had a life. I had a car. But the thing is, you cannot practice Islam back home. We see all around us evil. We see pedophiles. We see homosexuality. We see crime. We see rape. We spoke with Abu and his friends, as so many of these young men do, online. Their posts, many featuring photos of them posing with guns, attempt to make jihad sound cool. And this is a big draw to many youngsters who want to be part of this war, but have little or no combat experience. ISIS claims to be fighting for justice, but in reality their campaign is about brutality. The group has committed massacres and acts of terror so extreme, including a recent boast about executing Iraqi soldiers in cold blood, that even Al-Qaeda has disavowed them. I asked Abu if his family knows what he's doing in Syria. They are not happy with me being here. But when I give them dawah, their interpretation of Islam, they see the reality, they hear the reality from me that they don't hear from the BBC, he replied, after a pause. There are thousands like Abu from all across Europe in Syria and Iraq, according to some estimates. The Sufan Group, a security consulting firm, believes there are around 700 from France, 800 from Russia and almost 300 from Britain. But these figures relate to people analysts have been able to track, and the true numbers may be even higher. And as ISIS's onslaught in Iraq grows, there are fears even more foreigners will be drawn to fight. Last month, U.S. officials said Manar Mohammed Abu Salha, a 22-year-old American known as Abu Huraira al-Amriki, drove a truck full of explosives into a Syrian army position and detonated it, killing himself in the process. Abu says he was a friend of Abu Huraira's, and that they clicked immediately after they met to discuss their shared ideology. He was the best person I have ever met in my life. He had the best character, Abu said. Abu Huraira believed this would allow him to go in and kill many of the enemy, including himself. He wanted this more than a bullet. He told me, if I go on this martyrdom mission, don't go back to England. Ask Allah to keep you on this path. We asked Abu Anwar what Abu Huraira told him before he carried out the suicide attack. He told me to just pray that Allah accepts me as a martyr, Abu told us. He told me first that he wants this so much, and we have many stories of this people who are in these kind of operations, where they've survived the explosion. And on the radio before he detonated the bomb he said, I see paradise and I can smell paradise. This was seconds before he blew himself up. Abu, inspired by his friend, said he too wants to carry out a suicide attack, what he calls a martyrdom mission. But when asked if he would return to Britain to carry out an attack, he said, if I come back home, it will be when the black flag of Islam is flying over Downing Street, he said. I know some people have the intention of come back to do attacks. But me personally, I only have the intention of coming back as a conqueror. Abu said his family is not aware of his plan to carry out a martyr mission, but when his time comes to carry out the attack, he said he'll inform them.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على سيد المرسلين محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. الحمد لله رب العالمين بفضل الله ومنته، بفضل الأبطال الذين شاركوا بهذا العمل البطولي الرائع من كافة القوى، من كافة الفصائل، من كافة الكتائب، من الأخوة المهاجرين ومن الأخوة الأنصار ومن أبناء البلد ومن أبناء المنطقة، من كافة الكتائب والألوية لا أريد أن أذكرها لأن خشيت أن أنسى أحدا منها. جزا الله خيرا كل من ساهم بهذا العمل الطيب. نحن هنا في مطار منغ العسكري المحرر بفضل الله سبحانه وتعالى وبفضل هؤلاء الأبطال جميعا، وهناك أخوة كثيرين غائبين. نسأل الله أن يجزيهم كل خير، نسأل الله أن يترحم شهداءنا، أن يقبلهم ويكونوا في عليين. نسأل الله الشفاء لجرحانا جميعا الذين أصيبوا في هذه المعارك البطولية، هذه المعركة، هذه الملحمة البطولية الرائعة جدا. نحن هنا لنقبل كل يد ضغطت على الزناد وقتلت من هؤلاء المجوس، النظام المجرم الغاشم القاتل الذي دمر بلدنا وقتل أهلنا. الحمد لله رب العالمين، الحمد لله، الحمد لله. نشكر الجميع، نشكر الله سبحانه وتعالى، ونزف هذه البشرى لأهلنا في سوريا ولأهلنا المسلمين في جميع أنحاء العالم بأننا الله أكرمنا في هذا الشهر الفضيل بهذا النصر العظيم، بعد أن حققنا النصر في منطقة خان العسل، والآن في مطار منغ العسكري الذي تحرر على يد هؤلاء الأبطال. الله أكبر ولله الحمد، الله أكبر ولله الحمد. تكبير، الله أكبر، تكبير، الله أكبر. أخونا أبو جندل.
بسم الله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. نحمد الله عز وجل على هذا النصر. قامت فصائل كثير ومن بينهم دولة الإسلام في العراق والشام، أبطال دولة الإسلام في العراق والشام. وتم فتح مطار منغ العسكري، وتم الله عز وجل بفرحتنا بهذا النصر. ولكن والله 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 لن نفتح هذا المطار بقوتنا ولا بعتدنا، ولكن من الله عز وجل قوة عقيدتنا. الحمد لله، الحمد لله. ونسأل الله أن يرزق إخواننا الشهداء. هذا المطار محرر إلا بدماء الشهداء، أن يتقبلهم وأن يرزقهم الفردوس الأعلى.
آمين يا رب، آمين.
ولن يقوم عز الإسلام ولا المسلمين إلا على جماجم الشهداء. هذا سنة الحياة. ونسأل الله أن يرزقنا ويمدنا العمر حتى ندخل في أعداء الله، أعداء الدين. ونحمد الله عز وجل على هذا النصر، والحمد لله.